Hey guys, and welcome to this week's episode. Today we have a very special guest. We are chatting with Matt Ashby, EXP master attractor, a guy who's been in the game for some period of time. He knows a lot about scaling businesses, and he has a realtor organization with more than 1,500 agents. So whether you're a new realtor looking to build your business or you're an entrepreneur trying to understand how to scale, this is definitely a conversation you are not going to want to miss.
Yeah, we are super excited for this episode for sure. By the way, my name is Dan Wertel, and you're just listening to Ryan Dash, and we are agents with EXP who help other realtors grow their business using modern marketing techniques and conversion skills. So if you're an agent and you're looking to level up your business, we offer coaching, and we'd love to learn more about you and your business. Just click the link below. We would love to book a 30-minute, no hassle phone call with you. So hit that, and we'll learn more about how we can help you grow. So Ryan, why don't you get into the first question today that we have for Matt Ashby?
Yeah, Matt. So welcome, obviously. And
Thank you.
So why don't just before we kind of get into what EXP is and how it's radically changed, arguably all of our lives here, maybe tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe what life was like before real estate and what brought you here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Ryan and Dan, thank you so much for having me in the first place. Really appreciate the opportunity to be on here and share my story. So thank you. It started a long time ago. I grew up in a real estate family. So my dad was licensed in 1984 with a company called Permanent, which is no longer around. He was there for about 7 months. Yeah, long time ago.
That's irony.
Months, and then he joined. Yeah, exactly, right. And then he joined a company called Remax, which everybody is fairly it's very well known. And he became a really top producer there. Started in commercial, had his CCIM designation, and then 1993 the market shifted and he changed gears. But real estate's always been in the family. It's always been in the blood. And so I got started real estate investing when I was 19. And bought my first triplex, owner occupied, the house hack type of thing. And then I got into the restaurant business. So I was a server, bartender. Our family was in the restaurant business as well. And in 2010, we took over a casual fine dining restaurant that got hit by the recession in 2008, 2009, changed it into a pub. And the plan was to have it for 2 years, get the financials, and flip it. And 8 years later, it was doing so good, and we finally just sold that. But my journey into the real estate space was started from an investor point of view and picking up properties and BRRRR methods and all that good stuff. And then finally decided to get my license in 2014. And did commercial real estate. And I didn't want to really sell real estate. I got into real estate to make relationships with realtors and to get access to the real estate board so that I could build my own real estate portfolio. It turns out when you start, buying and selling your own real estate, you get friends and family and different people asking about it. And I thought maybe I could turn this into a business. And so that's what I did. I started a team, and we've been in the London, Ontario area and surrounding areas with our team selling real estate since 2014. And then I learned about EXP, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But that's kind of in a nutshell my backstory of just getting into real estate in the first place.
So Remax was the starting brokerage, is that right?
Yeah, no. So Remax was my dad, and I'd like to tell his story on there because I grew up, as everybody knows in real estate, you're at the kitchen table, you might be, hey, 1 second, off to the phone dealing with an inspection or dealing with this or late night calls. So I grew up with that just mentality, right? But I started with a small independent brokerage that recruited me right off the hop into the commercial space. And funny enough, the story is that commercial broker, who I'm not going to name, knew my last name because she did a deal with my dad in 1991, a commercial plaza in the Ottawa area. So she was like, Ashby, is your dad's name Patrick by any chance? And that's how we hit it off. And she showed me what she had to offer, and I decided to partner with her, and was there for a few years. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, Ryan's dad is with Remax as well, so you guys have some symmetry there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's definitely, I don't want to say the older way of doing real estate, but it's certainly not cutting edge like it is where we are today. And maybe let's start to talk about EXP here. So, understanding that you obviously, actually, you found your way into real estate much like Dan did. Dan started out by investing and buying and selling properties, and then got to a point where he was like, hey, I like this. I do this all the time. And, we also started at independence, right? And then we were with boutique brokerages, and we were actually getting coaching through Jason Smart, who's in our organization. And it was through a period of time there where we eventually saw just how incredible the model that EXP is and how it rewards entrepreneurs and realtors alike. And so maybe I'd love to know, because you're a little bit infamous in our world here for bringing EXP to Canada. So how did you take us back to when you saw that opportunity? Because I think for a lot of realtors, when they're looking at EXP as an opportunity, there's a lot to absorb. So how did you decide that EXP was going to be that vehicle for you?
So it is kind of a funny story. So I actually learned about EXP in 2015 by a gentleman by the name of Rob Flick, and my dad had met him on vacation, and they kind of hit it off. And Rob's the one who introduced my father Patrick to EXP, but my dad didn't have his license. He was retired and happy. And then he said, "Oh, my son sells real estate. Maybe he'll be interested." And you know what? I was like, "Dad, you were selling real estate, 30 years ago. You don't know what's going on and this and that." So I was so busy when he originally brought it to me that I said no, which is, most people don't know that. But I was like, no, but I also didn't look at it. Right? It's out in my inbox. It's out in my inbox for a while, and it must have been a rainy day. And I thought, he was kind of like, Matt, you got to take a look at this. And so I was like, okay, I'll look at it. I'll tell him no, and then he won't bother me about it again. And when he showed it to me, it started solving so many pain points, not just in my current business, but I could see how it could solve pain points in brand new agents, in agents that have been in the business for 3 to 5 years, and 10 plus and 20 plus. And just the model itself, I really couldn't sleep for a few nights after seeing it. And so that was in 2015, and basically it wasn't open in Ontario yet. And I talked to Glenn, the founder, and Jason Gessing, the CEO, and said, if this comes to Canada, I'd love to be a part of it. I think you've created something here, now that I've looked at it, that could, disrupt the industry. And it's really built for the agents, not for a franchise owner, regional owner. We'll get into all those details, but that's how it started in 2015. It wasn't until 2017 that we actually got the call from Jason and Glenn saying, okay, we're ready to launch. And so my dad went back, got his real estate license, and it was my dad, myself, and another broker in Ottawa who initiated the launch into Ontario, and then helped open up BC and all the other different provinces, and it just kind of took off from there. And I was, we were doing 40 to 50 deals a year as a solo agent, and brought on an agent. So we were doing some good volume, and nothing changed, right? Came over to EXP, continued doing that type of business. But it was all the extra wealth building pillars, I call them, that was attached to the brokerage model that I just couldn't ignore.
I like wealth building pillars.
Yeah. I think everybody does, right? And as realtors, and Dan, yourself, starting off as an investor, it was all about building equity, creating cash flow, and we told our clients, we tell our real estate clients, maybe don't go lease, go buy something, right? And don't make your landlord rich, go buy something, build equity, create an asset, so that you have something to lean on or borrow against or use, when you go sell your home. And I just use that analogy with EXP. It was a model created for agents to start earning equity and creating other revenue streams and increasing production, rather than where I currently was, where I was sending from my fees and dues, sending my broker to tropical destination areas every year for an extended period of time, without me even having to call her. Yeah, exactly. Well, I grinded it out, and I realized I was building somebody else's dream, and that the only way to get into her position would have been quite a financial burden for me. I would have had to go buy an office and start a team and do lead generation, and it just was geographically restricted as well. And it just wasn't something I was prepared to do. After seeing what Glenn had already created, it didn't make any sense to go buy a franchise or to go independent.
So maybe we'll elaborate on two sort of aspects of what you just talked about. And the first is the pain points that you saw it solve then, and that, of course, what you're seeing agents' pain points solve today, because there might be a little bit of differentiation there. So maybe just touch on the top 2 or 3 pain points that you see being the biggest solution by going with EXP.
Yeah. So number 1 was probably the equity portion and becoming an owner in the company, having a piece of the pie. It wasn't a pain point, I guess, right at the time, but I knew that where it all stemmed from was I looked at my T4A. I got my tax and my income, and I thought, after seeing Glenn's model, I thought, if I want to go make this much money again, I have to redo it all next year. I have to grind it out, and I have to do it the next year and the next year. And if I ever left my brokerage at the time, I knew I wasn't going to get any sort of, compensation plan or, pension plan. Sorry. I knew that I would stop making money. And so when I learned about the equity portion, it really caught my attention. It made sense to me as a real estate agent that I would just keep doing what I was doing, but along the way, build equity in the company. Like, that's exciting. That's an ownership in the company portion that you can't find anywhere else. And so back then it was revolutionary.
It's funny because a lot of real estate agents, they start their own business, right? And they build their own brand for a lot of it. They build sometimes their own teams. And yet, having a stake in the brokerage that they operate within isn't typically an option for them at all. And yet over here at EXP, it's one of the pillars, the founding sort of pillars as to why you would do that here. Yeah.
It's such a liability, headache, and risk to go open up your own brokerage. And I'm not saying that people won't be successful at it, but what I've learned now about a lot of the broker owners that I know is that you kind of start from a solo agent, then you work your way up to getting a team going. Right. And then, you may expand your team. Then the next step really is, to go buy a franchise or open up your own brokerage. And then what ends up happening at that part, from what I've heard, is you take on, again, a huge burden of liability and cash flow and expenses that come in and out. But the business starts owning you. And the reason that we go start a team, and the reason we go open up our own brokerage is to buy time back. We're too busy selling real estate. We want to still earn money in real estate, but not have to do the day-to-day operations and grind it out year after year. And the biggest misconception in that is that you just end up owning a job or a brokerage that owns you. And I've heard that from dozens and dozens of broker owners. And there's not only that, there's a certain threshold of agents that you need in order to really make it into an asset, because as we all know, we're independent contractors. We decide where we can hang our real estate license. So if I build up a brokerage to 10, 20, 30, 40 agents, what's that really worth? What could I sell it for? even if it was highly successful, it's not really much of an asset because those agents can leave at any time.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, I mean, your value is in the agents and their production, right? That's exactly what you've created. And the moment that no longer works for them, and if there's no financial alignment or equity piece, then there's nothing stopping them from leaving and moving on, right? And so maybe let's talk a little bit more in detail about those financial equity pieces so that people listening can have a better idea of what that means. So Matt, I'm going to reference a conversation that you and I had probably 2-3 weeks ago now, where we were on a Zoom call talking about how to grow, your organization. And, you mentioned on that call that it would be financially irresponsible if you're going to be in business for the next 5 to 10 years in real estate, that it would be financially irresponsible for realtors not to consider EXP. What did you mean by that?
Yeah, I'm a math guy. I like to run numbers, and not just straight numbers, black and white on day one, but what numbers look like in year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, depending on the project, just like I would with a real estate investment. I took that knowledge and I just did a business evaluation on the EXP model compared to other brokerages. And the way that the EXP model is set up is built for the agents, right? And the agents all earn equity in the company, so we all grow together. And when I ran the numbers, I realized that in one of the avenues, I could become 100% plus commission, which I never even heard of before, right? There are 100% commission brokerages.
Yeah.
But you don't get anything for it, and you still pay fees, right? There's still, it's not really 100%. But I realized in a very short period of time, just with my team coming over, that EXP would actually start paying me to sell real estate there. Now, we're not going to go into a ton of details, or maybe we will, but that was enough for me to catch my attention and realize that even if it took me 1, 2, or 3 years to get to that position, I would be way further ahead than paying a major franchise $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a year over 10 years. Whereas in 3 years, I'd be being paid by this brokerage. I call it like a salary, the EXP salary. I'd be paid to be holding my license there and continuing to run my real estate business, which hadn't been affected. In fact, my real estate business increased when I came to EXP. So these are things outside of transactions, right? Pieces outside of transactions. And another way to sum it up in general is that we have 2 buckets of income as realtors in a typical franchise model or independent brokerage. We work with buyers, we work with listings, right? Buyers and sellers. And EXP has 5 income buckets: buyers, sellers, dividends, stock, and revenue share. That's why it's financially irresponsible, I believe, for realtors to not hang their license with us, because you have 3 other buckets of income.
Yeah, not to mention health programs and everything else that comes with it too. So of those buckets of income, let's maybe speak a little bit more specifically to, you mentioned stock options. So that's clearly something that, I can go and buy RE/MAX stock, or I can go and buy EXP stock, but how does it work inside of EXP then? How does that become an equity piece?
Yeah, for sure. So there's a few different sections, but when you close your first deal, when you cap out, if you help the company grow, you earn shares in the company. And these are things that you would already do at another brokerage, right? But you get rewarded for doing so. There's a portion where you can take a percentage of your commissions and roll it into purchasing the stock at a discount, just like a Fortune 500 company gives their employees stock benefits or stock options and all that. We've done that with realtors. It's brilliant, whereas that's never happened before. But the biggest piece, if you are selling more than 25 to 30 plus homes a year, depending on your market, was the game changer, and that's our Icon Agent Award. And in most brokerage settings, the top producers pay the most to the brokerage. Right? The more real estate you sell, the more you pay, the more the broker owner makes, right? The more the regional owner makes, which is fine. It's just been always the way it's been. But at EXP, we reverse that. the more real estate you sold and you became a leader with us and earned our Icon Agent Award, we would give you back your full cap in company equity in the form of an investment. And for those of you who don't know, we're publicly traded on the NASDAQ. We're a multi-billion-dollar real estate brokerage, and we also are in current acquisition of different lead generation companies, coaching companies, tech companies that all go to benefit the agents. And so when I learned I could earn back my full cap in company stock as a form of investment in that year 1, 2, 3, 4, for the rest of my career selling real estate, I could earn that back. It was a game changer. It was amazing. And not only that, and part of the EXP model, the culture is that the Icon agents have to give back to the EXP community, to other shareholders in the company, and show them how to increase production and build a successful real estate business. So it's a full, beautiful circle of culture, community, as well as financial rewards for doing what we're already doing.
Yeah, it's truly amazing. And Matt, I'm happy to share that both Ryan and I, year 1 with EXP, hit that Icon agent level. And so just like you, I'm a numbers guy. So I broke it down and looked at what I would have paid my previous brokerage, which was basically a discount boutique brokerage. They had no splits and a low fee. Like, they were really good at giving agents as much as you can expect within that framework. Took what we would have made there and paid them there compared to over at EXP. And at the end of the day, thanks to getting the cap back in stock, thanks to a bit of rev share, thanks to helping grow the company, I actually had a net positive income. EXP paid me in year 1 about $6,000. Okay. And so looking at the previous brokerage, had I done the exact same thing at the previous brokerage, I would have paid them about $22,000. So there's a swing there of almost 30 grand for 1 year. And then, of course, you extrapolate that over your 3, 5, 10-year business. And if nothing else, just by switching brokerage, you're looking at about $100K, a 6-figure swing every 3 years or so. And that was pretty mind-blowing to me.
You know what? It is absolutely insane. And the reason people, I think, with EXP, like if you go to major franchise to major franchise, I'm not going to name any of them, but if you go, they're all the same model. Okay, they're all brick and mortars. They're in a pyramid, headquarters, regional owners, franchise owners, broker managers, agents. Agents are at the bottom, right? And so this model has eliminated all that, brought it together where it's company and agents, and the agents own 70% of the company. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But I hear stories like that all the time. And I have an agent, multiple agents who spend 30, 40, 50 grand a year that have now come to EXP. And all I said and showed them the Icon program, imagine if you could take what you pay to your broker, the $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year, and you could tuck it away and have it compound annually in whatever index fund or even purchase stock, EXP stock. How much further ahead would you be in 10 years from now?
Oh, huge.
And you run the numbers, and it's 7 figures.
Starting to get financially irresponsible.
Exactly. There's no other way to say it, right?
It's so true. And then again, just to kind of elaborate a little bit on what you touched on there, is that the Icon agents, to help unlock half of that stock that they earn back, they have to help train, coach other realtors within the organization. So you are learning from people that are selling today in the top 10% of all agents globally. Because as we know, and as we have experienced, typically your training within your brokerage comes from somebody who maybe hasn't literally sold a house in 20 years because they're a managing broker. They're just not agents now. And I get that. But imagine that difference. Imagine the education level difference, learning every single week from agents that are selling in the top 5, 10% globally, compared to somebody who hasn't sold in 10, 15 years. Like, you're learning modern techniques from modern high producing agents. And again, that alone is also financially irresponsible to not do, because do you want to learn modern techniques that are going to help you sell more, or learn the old ways that maybe don't work as well as they used to?
And to add to that, Dan, what I realized and what everybody realizes as well is that same broker owner who may or may not be selling, we're not saying they are or not, but they're also training the same training to all the same agents, all in the same market.
Very, very, very good point.
Yeah.
Right?
Not giving you a differentiating factor.
Oh, 100%. And when you take a look at our 80 hours of live weekly training from Icon agents from around North America, and you can pick and choose the trainings you want to, and you're taking these golden nuggets that sometimes you would have to go pay real estate coaches a tremendous amount of money to give you a roadmap, and top producers are giving it to you for free at EXP because they're shareholders in the company helping other shareholders. It's incredible.
So guys, to that point, I'm not going to say I'm not a numbers guy, but I'm not a numbers guy like you guys are numbers guys. I'm definitely more of a culture kind of guy. And it's fascinating to me. I just spent my first year going to Orlando at the shareholder conference, and then down here in Vegas at the EXP Con. And one of the biggest things that I always speak to realtors about is culture, right? And we're talking about it now. And it's funny because one of the biggest myths about EXP is that it's a cloud-based brokerage, so there couldn't be any culture with it, right? You're online all the time, so what do you know about culture? And I kind of want to touch on the importance of a sponsor here, because this is where, for me, culture played a huge piece. Right. A lot of, like you said, a lot of real estate agents, if they want to learn from pros, they're going into, I remember when I interviewed with Remax as a brand new agent, they were like, oh yeah, you're going to have to give up 30 or 40% of your income to, your mentor, on the first number of transactions to kind of get you through them. And I was sort of like, well, then how am I going to survive? That 30, 40% when you're a brand new agent, that's what's keeping you alive. That's getting you to your next deal. Right. And so that didn't make a lot of sense to me. And when I found the importance, and maybe you can touch on this, of your sponsor, the person who brings you to EXP and what they have to offer, let alone the 80 hours of live training that EXP does, and you get it from Icon status agents and so on and so forth. There are also people who are even greater than that, who can bring extreme levels of value to you and accelerate your learning curve, if you will, from years down to months and even weeks. Matt, can you talk a little bit about the importance of a good sponsor?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to start with the culture portion because I think culture is extremely important in any real estate brokerage. And the culture here at EXP, it's different. Not different in a bad way, because there's none. In a good way that it's 10 times more and better, in my opinion, than the brokerage I was at previously. When you have every agent as a shareholder in the same company, all rowing the oars, going the same way, a high tide raises all ships. Okay? And that is so extremely important that it creates a culture. And even though we're cloud-based, we have meetings and get-togethers, and we have 3 Christmas parties in Ontario, for goodness sakes. Like, we have all of these amazing things taking place, and we have other teams putting together different events for their team and this and that. But all in all, we're one EXP. We're one big global real estate team, owners in the company, helping each other build very successful, grounded businesses on the EXP platform. Of course, having a fantastic sponsor is can set you up for a lot of future success. People who know the model inside and out, people that can help explain, people that have been in with a company. Icon agents are great as well, and yourself, Ryan and Dan, are the prime example of a fantastic sponsorship and the coaching training. You go above and beyond, not just for your agents, but anybody on your team, wherever they're geographically located. Real estate in Florida, Colorado, Montreal, Vancouver, maybe the paperwork's a little different, but the general idea of building a successful real estate business, I could take my real estate business, go to Florida, start from scratch, and do what I'm doing there in a pretty short period of time. So what you can teach people has no geographical restrictions.
That's pretty cool.
It's so true. And I definitely want to expand on this because it's something that very few, I think, people within EXP will recognize and utilize as well. Because yes, you definitely come into EXP. If you're considering making a brokerage switch, you will have a sponsor. At least you definitely should have a sponsor. But guess what? They have a sponsor. And that person has a sponsor. And it actually goes 7 layers deep within the financial alignment that Ryan touched on, meaning that with the revenue share program, 7 agents deep, receive funds from your commission that goes to the brokerage, and the brokerage pays back to the agents. And the reason that's important is because more than just interviewing a different sponsor, you want to know more about what their sponsors have to offer. Because yeah, your direct sponsor is awesome. But for example, look at our group. Let's say you came in and you joined under Ryan. Well, you get to learn everything Ryan knows as a top producing agent. I'm his sponsor. He learns from me. Above me is a YouTube coach and a PPC coach. And above him is somebody who sold 135 homes in his first year. And then you keep going up. Then you've got Matt Ashby. So you've got these people that are all high producers and high producing businessmen and entrepreneurs who would all have a financial interest in your success. So imagine those 7 people all coming down and saying, hey, I've got different aspects of real estate and business to help you grow, and I'm going to teach you this. And then this person here is going to teach you this. So 7 layers deep, just right there, of people who want you to succeed, let alone the entire EXP organization as a whole. So the support levels and the interest in your financial success from that group, I think is, again, we're talking about it's financially irresponsible not to have that kind of support, but also speaks to why the culture is so good. Everybody wants everyone to win. And even if you're not in the organization, you're with EXP. So having you succeed equals a higher company valuation in the stock that we all own. So it's just everywhere you look, there's support and just this vibe of people wanting everyone else within the group to succeed. And we're all witnesses to it. And that's why it's just, it's all smiles over here. It's been such an incredible ride and so much, it's just been so exciting to uncover this, because I didn't know any of this really existed when we first started. And of course, the more layers you peel back, the more you recognize and realize within the brokerage and the model, it just becomes more extremely exceptional, really.
You know what? I couldn't have said that better myself. That was perfect. The level of collaboration within a local small brokerage in one geographical area cannot even compare to a global company reach of agents wanting to help each other out. And if there's anything I'd have to say about this, because some people don't understand it because they've just been in real estate for so long in their market. There's a reason why we've become the fastest growing real estate brokerage in history. There's a reason we went from 2,500 agents when I joined in 2017 to now almost hitting 90,000 agents in 5 years. Okay, 5.5 years. Like, that has never been done before. And so we are becoming the largest real estate disruptor that's ever taken place in using technology, putting the agents first, and giving them all the tools to run a very successful business, and then the culture and environment and community that allows everybody to collaborate and lift each other up. I don't know about you, but there's real no financial incentive for me to help some of the new agents at my previous office come in. I'll say hi, but I'm too busy for that. Right? I'm too busy. But here at EXP, it's a different, like you said, that vibe. You're just like, hey, let me help you. Hey, jump on this call with me. Hey, let me take you through a listing presentation. Let me help you because I'm financially incentivized to do so. 1, 2, I'm a nice guy. And 3, I know that a new agent coming in who's going to make this a lifetime career is going to help EXP as a company overall. And guess who owns the company? The agents. It's
Matt, I think there's a fourth to that. And I think it's that somebody helped, well, maybe not you specifically because you brought EXP here, but for us, for example, the people that brought us in, their experience was somebody helped me, right? And so right from the get-go, the interpretation of culture is reciprocal, right? And the financial piece of it aligns that reciprocation beautifully and ensures its success, right? And you touched on it here, 2,500 agents when you joined, nearly 90,000 now. So EXP is on this incredible growth curve. And, a lot of the agents that, some of the agents I speak to, some of the, maybe, I would say one of the reasons they're holding back from entertaining EXP is they're like, well, it's so big now. I've kind of lost my opportunity to grow with the company. They're arguably second or third largest in the world now. So, why would I join now? The boat's kind of gone. And I think it's important for a lot of people to understand that EXP has been around for 13 years, right? And it's taken a long time probably to get longer time to get to that 2,500 than it did for the 2,500 to reach 90,000. So let's talk about the next 90,000. Is that going to happen way faster than historically proven? I mean, it certainly feels like it.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. A few different reasons for that is, one, we're not a franchise. So when we go open up a country, we don't need to go spend millions of dollars on billboards, radio ads, office outputs, all the legal paperwork, set up regional owners, set up franchise owners, and then attract agents to the brand, right? That costs millions of dollars. And as with the Big Balloon Company in 1973, that was founded, they're in 100 plus countries now, but it's taken, 50 years. Right, 50 plus years to do so. And it's very expensive to go out and open these new countries. With us, because we're so agile and we don't have that business model, it's a completely different model. We just have to go find the right people who are interested in earning stock, creating passive income, increasing production, find the right brokers who have the experience and the knowledge of that country. And then we build them an office using technology, where agents can jump in and immediately start collaborating, immediately start getting referrals, immediately start getting all the training and coaching that EXP offers. So during COVID, we opened up 21 countries in 2 years.
Wow, that's insane.
Okay. What? Right?
That's
that
insane.
is fantastic. And the person running the show at EXP Global is Michael Valdez, who's become a dear friend as we've done some international stuff together. And prior to Michael's couple years at EXP, for 17 years, he was with a company called Realtor, which is a conglomerate of Century 21 called Bankers Sotheby's. And he helped open up over 70 countries for those brands and was running them. And he met Glenn at a conference I believe it was in New York, but it was a real estate conference. And he was listening to Glenn kind of like, who is this guy? What's he doing over here? And when Michael looked at it, he realized that he was trying to push the blockbuster model of that style, and that Glenn had figured out the Netflix. And that's how it all happened. And now there's no way he could have opened up 20 plus countries in 2 years during a global pandemic. But here we are and growing. So missing the boat, touching on that, I think we're just getting started. We are just getting started. There's a lot of agents who may have heard of EXP or saw something online, saw a fellow agent post something or in a different city and thinking that they couldn't be a part of it because it was across the country. And now we've had some of the biggest teams in the world join us. We've had some of the biggest independent brokerages in North America join us. We've just surpassed RE/MAX in the United States. There are things taking place where people who would have never looked at EXP a year, 2, 3 ago are going, okay, there's something here. This company hasn't slowed down and they're growing and they're taking the best of the best. So we're just getting started.
I think too, it's now hit that point where it's clearly got proof of concept, right? So for anyone who is like, oh, this doesn't work, it's a pyramid scheme, it's this, it's that, it's whatever. It's like, no, it's got 14 years of proven financials, publicly traded on the NASDAQ, record growth for all time. So again, I think, it's almost easier to believe in now than it's ever been. And therefore, I think that growth will only accelerate because again, when you're looking at a proven model and you've got 80, 90,000 agents that can speak to it, it just shows that it's rock solid and poised for even faster growth.
I tell agents, well, I don't tell agents, but the reason that I think it takes a bit longer to join EXP, it's an ego risk. It's not a financial risk. The numbers are so rock solid here, it becomes an ego risk, and some people don't want to be the first ones through the door. They want to see other people, they want to see what's going on, but now with a bit of a market shift taking place, I have never seen in my 5 years with EXP so many people finally go, okay, I need to see what this company is all about. Because it's been a really busy few years in real estate. We've had the hottest real estate market we've ever had in my lifetime.
And same here.
Ever. Right? Right. So a lot of people have been too busy to think about a change. And I've never seen so many people now doing cost analysis and learning more about this revolutionary model that during that 24-month period of time, we've just gone, it just took off like crazy.
Well, think about it. You can not be doing deals, excuse me, but still have money coming in. As a realtor, that's a pretty novel concept.
Yeah.
So yes, things are going slow, but you can still be creating passive income from the other agents in other markets. And we are talking globally here. Sure, North America is maybe having a slowdown, but then, hey, this country over here is doing well, and you happen to have agents that you've attracted there. So there's even more revenue coming in. And second, whenever a market shifts, you need to be educated on what to do next. And why not be educated from the top 10% of people who are still on top of the game and transacting and can dominate in a shifting market? Now you will happily learn their tactics because they're going to open up their playbook to you.
It's brilliant. I love it. I just can't believe it. It's almost not like we were hoping for a bit of a slowdown, but a market slowdown allows agents to breathe and recoup. And now is the time when we're seeing the most agents taking a look at, and brokers, and not only that, broker owners, independent brokers, franchise owners that have their renewals coming up. They're looking at options because they're realizing that this model is lean, it's mean, and it's for the agents. And it's because it's not. It used to be we will become the largest real estate disruptor ever. It's like we're right in the middle of being the largest real estate disruptor for realtors and brokers that's ever taken place. There's still lots of runway.
Well put.
Well, guys, I think that's probably a great place to kind of wrap the conversation. Matt, thank you so much for giving us such unique insights into EXP and kind of what it's done for your life, what it's doing ultimately for realtors around the world, and in a very exciting way, where it's going and where realtors can take their business. So really appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on here, guys. And we'll catch you guys next week.
Perfect. Thanks for having me, Ryan and Dan. Really appreciate it. And thank you so much.
Awesome, Matt. Appreciate it. Bye, everyone.